going, everyone? This is Geoff Chrysler, a detail enthusiast, back with your next episode of my BN1 restoration. So I've been running her recently, got a number of issues resolved. The biggest thing is I did replace the tappets and push rods with a brand new set of original spec tappets and push rods. So it's kind of a tricky job, but I got her done. Had to remove the side cover there and get it all replaced with a new gasket and gasket sealer and make sure it's all sealed, and of course lubricated all the tappets with some tappet lubricant and got it all set up and the valves adjusted, and then ran it for, well, got it up to temperature. I ran it about 1500 RPM for about 20 minutes and checked everything, and I adjusted both of the carburetors while it was running as it got warmed up. And then after that initial warm-up period, turns out I've still got a tiny slow leak on my carburetors. It's those the new seals that I put in here, those big round cork ones. I had replaced it with a neoprene one, still leaking. So I've got another set here of new cork ones, and I've soaked them in oil for 24 hours. It says you're supposed to do that, which I can't remember if I did that on the first set or not. But anyway, I'm doing that with this new set. So once it's been 24 hours, I'm going to replace these again and hopefully get a proper seal. Meanwhile, I did everything else I've done is sealing properly. Those float bowls, and I've got the little screens in there now. That's all sealed properly. Yeah, other than that, she's running really well. After that initial warm-up period, of course, I readjusted the carburetors. Checked all of the valve clearances, which some of them needed a little tiny bit of adjustment, just like a quarter turn here and there. The timing seems to be running beautifully. She's got a pretty steady beat coming out of the exhaust, which is, I'll be interested to see. I have not used a timing light on this yet. This is just, static timing, following the manual, but she sounds pretty good. So, yeah, and then of course, yesterday, after the previous day of running it in, yesterday I started it up and warmed it up and then took it out for its first little drive around the parking lot. I mean, I say drive, I didn't even get out of first gear, but it was sure lots of fun to take her around the parking lot and then come back and let it sit overnight and look for all the leaks. Yeah. So luckily, as I had said with running it yesterday and taking it for a little drive, of course, that was my first time using the clutch. The clutch felt great. First time was always a little embarrassing, but got right onto it, and it seems to be set in a reasonable, comfortable position. And of course, the brakes are working beautifully. Got all the air out, it seems, and so I had good pedal, and yeah, she's looking really good, and she's sounding really good. So, big problems. I had to, as you can see, remove the carburetors and exhaust manifold and side cover. And what happened is after that running, I realized that I had a small oil leak, and it was coming from this tachometer housing. And I realized that the bolt right here was not down tight. So I went to go tighten it, and it snapped off. Snapped off right flush with the block. So I had to take everything apart, get everything out of the way to try and extract it. And now I'm having a heck of a time trying to get all of it out of there and tap new threads. So, and obviously I'm gonna have to, I've made a new gasket for there. I've just made some, as you can see, I got some gasket paper, and I cut this one out of gasket paper, so I'll be using this. Yeah, in the meantime, there's my exhaust, and carburetors I was able to keep together with the intake manifold. Yeah, but well, lots of fun. Wish me luck. Okay, well, I got her sorted. So luckily I did have to redo all this because it gave me an opportunity to get a proper seal and redo the gasket on that side cover, because I was getting a couple little drips from that too. So I made a new gasket like I showed you, using some heavy thickness gasket paper, and use this the Permatex Optimum Gray high heat gasket maker on both surfaces, on all surfaces, and made sure to get a really nice seal, and then just went along with a moist cloth to clean up the edges where it squishes out, get a really nice seal everywhere. Same thing with that guy. I made him a new gasket for him. I didn't have a gasket under there before. There was no gasket that came for it in the set. There was stuff that were close, but nothing fit him properly. So I had to make a new gasket and got a really nice fit with that to get a good seal. And of course, that's my new bolt that I had to carefully drill and re-tap. Tapping into cast iron was not easy. I had to just take it really slow, a couple turns at a time, and then out, and one in and one out. And yeah, and it's not a very deep hole either. That's the other thing. So it's only in there by, well, 4 or 5 threads maybe, but it's in there and it's tight, and so should be good to go. And now I can start putting everything back together, and again I'll be putting in a new gasket for the manifold there, and get her all back together. And of course, for these carburetors, when I go to put together these guys, I'll be using that spray gasket on the smaller stuff like that. It's really good for that kind of stuff. So just getting ready to reassemble everything. Took the opportunity, of course, to repaint the manifold and exhaust pieces, and yeah, these carburetors are all fully rebuilt and ready to go and properly sealed, so we can put that back on as an assembly. And of course, I retouched in here as well. Steering column got pretty scratched up in the process, so I've repainted it, and of course the side cover and all of those things have all been touched in now that they're properly sealed. So of course I gotta still replace that gasket, but yeah, she's ready to reassemble. All right, so she's all reassembled. I've got the exhaust manifold and intake manifolds reattached with a new gasket, some more of that gray sealant in there. And of course all the fuel lines reattached with new gaskets. So she should be ready to go. As you can see, that's all done with the tachometer screwed into place, and got the little overflow tubes reinstalled. You can see them coming down there. Of course, the little vacuum line. Tricky little things to reattach, but boy, I'm glad the body's not on for this process. It makes things a lot easier. So that's everything. I'm going to leave it for a day just to give all the gray sealant 24 hours to dry before I try starting it up again. But, well, hopefully this time tomorrow she should be purring like a kitten. Okay, so moment of truth. Let's see how she goes. Beautiful. And here we are. We got we've adjusted the carburetor, so she's got a really nice idle with 700 RPM. Got the temperature. Nice rhythm. And look. Yes, got her fixed. So that's great. We've got her all back together. I've run it for about 25 minutes there, and got the idle just right, got the carburetors tuned up nicely, and the choke set, and yes, very happy that thermostat housing and side cover is not leaking at all. It didn't get one drop, so we do have a couple drops there from of coolant coming out of, I think it's coming from that upper rad hose. Those are really hard to get tight with those original style clamps, but it's very minor amount, so see if I can get it a little tighter, but I can live with that. Yeah, other than that, she's running really well, so I've given Jetstream a call, and sounds like we're going to be able to get her in next week and drop her off to have the body reassembled to the car and have her painted. So I guess they've been prepping the body panels by painting the insides of them. So the inside's all painted, it can be reassembled, and then they can do the final prep and paint of the outside, which shouldn't be too much prep involved. They got most of that done before we painted the chassis, so it should be a pretty quick and simple job. So yeah, looking really good. Nice running, rolling chassis. So until next time, I'm Geoff Chrysler, a detail enthusiast. See you again.